In the previous saga, we got to know the whole story of Tommy after he was taken out of Rita's spell, and we saw all the problems he had after that. At the end of the saga, we met the new monster that arrived from a portal that Scorpina opened with the green crystal of chaos. This monster is called the Black Dragon, and it is a kind of dragon with a high-tech armor. When this monster arrived, it was of gigantic size and destroyed the command center, and the Rangers only knew that Alpha 5 was left in very bad shape, but they don't know anything about Zordon. Now the Rangers must try to face this powerful being, and they don't know where he comes from, and they already realized that he has a great power since he almost destroyed them all. Black Dragon reduced his size and begins to dialogue with the Rangers. He tells them that he wanted to offer them a chance to surrender, but he knew that was not going to happen. Obviously, the Rangers are very angry since this unknown monster destroyed the command center, so Jason tells him that he just destroyed their home and there is no chance in the world that they will surrender. Obviously, all the Rangers agree with their leader, so Black Dragon replies that all is decided, and it was what he expected. He then proceeds to begin his attack, something the Rangers had never experienced before and didn't know was possible. The monster opens its mouth and begins to launch a wave of power that apparently separates the powers of the Rangers' bodies. This is why we can see the Rangers' suits begin to fade, and this appears to be a very painful noise as the Rangers try to cover their ears. Despite this, Jason asks Kimberly if he can do anything, and she already understands what to do. Black Dragon continues to attack with force, but Kimberly grabs her bow to start shooting arrows and try to stop the attack. This attack is so powerful that it makes it difficult for the Rangers to move, so Kimberly's attack is very difficult to achieve. She manages to launch the first arrow, which explodes in the head of the monster, and with this she manages to stop the attack. Now the Rangers can move, so they start the battle to try to stop this dragon. Meanwhile, Kimberly continues to shoot arrows to give the Rangers a bit of an advantage, and they begin to run towards the monster. Zack and Jason try the first attack, but the monster launches its power and sends Zack flying. He then grabs Jason by the arm as Tommy tries to attack from behind, but the dragon is smart and throws a punch with his tail that also sends him flying and lands on Kimberly. He now has Jason grabbed and starts his attack directly in his face. Then Billy and Trini attack him from behind and stick their guns in his back. Despite this, the monster manages to hit them and throws them both to the ground, but he has to let go of Jason to accomplish this. The Rangers are taking a beating, but despite this Jason doesn't give up and tells the Black Dragon that he's going to give him one last chance. A bit of a rambling act since they are the ones who took the brunt of the battle. Because of this, the monster refuses to give up and attacks Jason and Trini with an energy that comes out of his hand. This almost destroys them both, and so Trini tells Jason that they should withdraw from the fight and look for somewhere to save themselves. Tommy is still trying to recover from the blow, and at that moment the monster arrives again. Kimberly is paralyzed and doesn't know what to do, and the Black Dragon grabs Tommy by the neck. Trini starts saying that she can teleport everyone to the pocket dimension, and Jason asks her to run the necessary systems there as well since all the command centers are exposed. As the Black Dragon has Tommy by the throat, he tells him that the Green Ranger is always very different and unique, so he's going to make him a little more normal. Zack uses his power axe to hit the monster hard to get it to let go of Tommy and tells the other Rangers that it was time to leave. Jason presses the necessary buttons to start the teleportation to the pocket dimension, but at that precise moment the monster manages to grab Billy by the arm so he can't teleport. The plan works to perfection as Billy was unable to teleport and then tries to defend himself, but the Black Dragon easily defeats him. With Billy lying on the ground, the monster proceeds to send a message to Rita and tells her that they are ready to receive her. The other Rangers arrived in the pocket dimension and hadn't realized what had happened to Billy. They begin to notice that the entire pocket dimension was falling apart, and Trini says that this may be happening because of Zordon's absence. The Rangers try to take in what just happened as they are still shocked with everything that happened, and then Trini realizes that Billy is not with them. They try to figure out what happened as they thought Billy was right next to them, and they don't know if the teleportation failed. Trini says they should go back, but Jason was watching everything that was going on through a screen and says that Rita is already there. Zack starts to do the recap of everything that has happened and realizes that they lost everything. They lost Zordon, they lost Alpha, there is a dragon that can beat them up, they destroyed the command center, and now they have the one person who could have answers to everything that is going on. Kimberly asks Tommy to try to remember something about everything he could hear while being controlled by Rita to try to figure out what might be going on. Tommy remembers that Scorpina had said that the crystal was charged with green chaos energy, so that's what opened the portal, and Zack concludes that the black dragon is linked to Tommy somehow. Tommy accepts that conclusion, but Zack is really angry about this, and they both start arguing. Then Kimberly separates them and tells them that they should all be friends so they can help each other. They both apologize while Jason and Trini continue to try to figure out a way in how they can defeat the monster. Now we get to see Alpha 5's body, and we realize that his head is separated from his body. Meanwhile, Rita starts talking about everything that happened and tells the monster that when he offered her all that she was hesitating. Now she thinks it was all a success, except for the loss of Scorpina. The black dragon welcomes the Empress. He also tells her that the Rangers escaped to the pocket dimension, and they need to follow them there. We can see that he already has Billy's morpher and tells Rita that he will use that power coin as an access point. He then starts to throw his power coming out of his mouth by putting the chaos crystal in front of it and then the power coin. In the pocket dimension, the Rangers continue to try to find out what happened to Alpha and Zordon, as they don't know if they survived. They also say that for now the priority is Billy, who was probably taken to the dark dimension. At that moment, the Rangers begin to feel the black dragon's attack and his power begins to leave their bodies. This does not affect Tommy, but the other Rangers are left without powers, and now none of them are transformed. Billy is in the dark dimension and his glasses are broken on the floor. Due to this, he can't see anything around him, but he hears a noise and starts to ask if anyone is there. Golder was close to Billy, and the noise he heard was the chains he had. Golder starts talking to Billy and tells him that he will slowly get used to that place until he feels it is his home. The reason Golder is there in chains is because he failed Rita and lost his Green Ranger. He tells Billy that he had failed Rita many times before. Why is it different now? Golder gets very angry and basically tells him to worry about his own problems. In the command center, we can see that the black dragon is in the Zord hideout near Jason, the Red Ranger's Zord. The monster uses his power again to wake up the Zords and tells them it's time to get up. Apparently, this power has the ability to control everything using the power of the Morphin grid. In another part of the command center, we can see that many putty patrollers are lying on top of each other to form a wall, and then Rita's helpers burn them with fire to transform them into a rock wall. Inside the command center, Rita asks the putty patrollers to put their throne in the same place where Zordon's tube was. Then Rita sits on the throne with Alpha 5's head in her hand and starts talking to him as if she were talking to a human being. She tells him that she couldn't have known what was going on because she served Zordon, and then says that she is going to create a lamp with that head so that for the first time it will serve a purpose. In the pocket dimension, Trini starts checking all the morphers to find out what happened to her powers, but realizes that there was nothing wrong with the morphers and everything was working. She is very overwhelmed by everything that was going on, as she feels that Zordon, Alpha, or Billy could have easily figured this out. Jason and Zack try to encourage her not to give up, and she comes to the conclusion that she has no powers because of the way they connect to the Morphin grid. In the Green Ranger saga, we had already seen that Tommy connects in a different way to the grid, and because of this, everyone has lost their powers except Tommy. Elsewhere in the pocket dimension, Tommy is still watching the replays of the videos of the explosion that opened the portal through which the Black Dragon entered, and is still feeling guilty for having fought with Zack and Jason. This fight was what filled the green chaos crystal with energy, and this is why Tommy feels he could have prevented it. Kimberly sits down with him to listen to him and keep him from continuing to blame himself for everything. Tommy says that this was the opportunity to make a good impression, but he blew it, and Kimberly sarcastically responds to him by saying that the first impression was trying to kill them. She then tells him that it was also the team's fault since they were used to the same people and sometimes people have a hard time with change. She tells him that he was the only one who didn't lose his powers, and maybe this is the opportunity to prove how valuable he is. At that moment, they begin to see a message that Rita is transmitting from the command center. This message is transmitted all over the planet, and she begins to say that the war is over. She asks all the leaders of the world to surrender to her before she destroys them all. She then tells them that she has destroyed the Power Rangers, so they won't be able to come save them, and that she also has control of the Zords. We can see that the Zords are in different cities around the world, ready to follow Rita's orders. Then she says that the leaders of the world have 24 hours to think about it. Those who don't want to surrender will be considered her enemies, and she will conquer them by force. In the pocket dimension, all the Rangers gather to make a plan after hearing Rita's message. They all try to come up with information for the plan, but Trini keeps regretting that Billy isn't there to help them, and Tommy tells them that he can rescue him. Jason doesn't know if the pocket dimension can be entered, and Tommy replies that at the base of the moon there is a portal to enter the dark dimension. Zack asks Tommy how he is going to get there, and apparently Jason and Tommy already have a plan. They both use the Dragon Zord to fly to the moon, and it is that the Zords are very powerful machines that can achieve incredible things. Even though Jason already knew that the Zords could fly to the moon, they are both still impressed that they have managed to fly there. The moon base is guarded by putty patrollers who start shooting at the Dragon Zord. Tommy and Jason fight back and easily destroy the putty patrollers with the Dragon Zord's finger missiles. Tommy gives Jason the Dragon Dagger so he can continue to control the Dragon Zord, and then leaves to enter the moon base. Tommy tries to get in without anyone seeing him, while all the putty patrollers are still running outside to defend the castle. Then the Green Ranger gets to the machine that opens the portal to enter the dark dimension, but unfortunately, the Black Dragon was waiting for him. In the pocket dimension, Trini is still trying to think of some solution to these problems. She tries to think of Zordon and tries to understand if he can be somewhere since the energy cannot be destroyed. Then she starts to regret again that Billy is not there with her, as he would have found the clue she is looking for. Zack tries to comfort her by telling her that she is doing well and that she is pushing herself too hard. Trini then starts to regret telling Jason to back out of the battle they were having with the Black Dragon, but Zack tells her that was a good call since they were taking a beating and it could have been worse. Then they start to hear something on the screen and to their surprise think it's Alpha. On the moon, Jason continues to destroy all the weapons on the moon base, but the black dragon hits Tommy hard enough to throw him far away. The monster then learns that Jason is controlling the Dragonzord even though he has no powers and plans to confront him. The black dragon transforms to a giant size to start fighting the Dragonzord controlled by Jason. The monster is very powerful and also starts to beat up the Dragonzord. This monster hits the Zord so hard that it knocks Jason out and the Dragonzord is left floating and unable to move. Tommy is very worried about Jason, but unfortunately, he has a bigger problem right now as the black dragon is gigantic and can easily crush him. Because of this, the monster takes full advantage of the leverage he has and grabs Tommy by his arm. The Rangers are in the worst moment of their history since they have no powers and the last chance to save the person who can help them is lost. After Rita gave the leaders of the world only 24 hours to surrender, Bulk and Skull report everything that has been happening. In Tokyo, there is the Blue Rangers Zord and the military have been trying to get inside it but have not been able to. Due to this, they have caused a lot of destruction in part of the city and the same is happening in other cities. The Zords have responded to the attacks and have started to destroy everything. Bulk starts to say that they haven't seen the Dragonzord since the attack in the bay. Basically this was when Scorpina was using the Zord to try to fill the energy crystal. On the moon, we continue to see that the black dragon has Tommy held by the shield and begins to claim several things from him. First, he tells him that he had everything, the Empress gave him everything. He turned his back on her and only to die all alone now on the moon. Then, Tommy makes the shield disappear so he can free himself from the hands of the monster and begins to communicate with Jason. He tells him that he needs some distraction since it's too hard to fight a giant monster, but Jason is trying to stabilize the Dragonzord after the beating that the monster gave him and now it's floating out of control. Tommy wants to try to rescue Billy again and Jason advises him to stay close to the black dragon as it is so big that he won't be able to move well enough to catch it. The monster thinks Tommy wants to escape from the moon and keeps trying to attack him to stop him. Then, the Green Ranger takes advantage of the lack of gravity on the moon and raises one of the palace's guns to shoot the monster. Even though it was a good try, the black dragon attacks it and obviously manages to knock it down. Tommy then tries to play with its mind by telling it various things to make the monster change its size and because of this the black dragon returns to its normal size. The monster says that he doesn't want Tommy to have any excuses after losing the battle. At that moment, Tommy tries to attack him quickly, but the black dragon is very strong and manages to knock him down. With Tommy on the ground, the monster begins to hit him very hard to try to finish him off and the Green Ranger's helmet begins to crack. One more punch and the Green Ranger's helmet is going to break, but at that precise moment Jason arrives in the Dragonzord to stop the monster. Jason hits the monster so hard that it rips his arm off and saves Tommy. Now Jason is going to try to teleport Tommy into the Zord and the Green Ranger is going to take the monster's arm. While they do this, the black dragon behind them starts to change size. Inside the Dragonzord Tommy starts to ask for Billy as he still wants to save him, but Jason tells him that they already missed their chance, and they must leave to try to find another way to save him. The Rangers managed to escape from the moon successfully and the black dragon could not stop him. In the pocket dimension, the Rangers are still trying to talk to Alpha, who has used his backup system to be able to send signals to the Rangers since his body, which is his main power source, is not connected to his head. Alpha begins to respond to the Rangers and explains that he is lying in the trash unable to move since he has no body. He also tells them that Rita sent all his parts to be melted down, but before that, he was able to hear her plans. At that moment, Jason arrives holding Tommy, who is in bad shape and needs to rest. Jason then explains to the Rangers everything that happened and gives Trini the arm of the Black Dragon in the hope that this can help them in some way. Alpha greets Jason and Jason is very surprised to hear Alpha's voice again. The robot begins to explain to the Rangers how the Black Dragon is controlling the Zords and is using Billy's power coin to access the Rangers' powers. Everyone is worried as Rita's deadline is almost up and they need to find some way to stop her. In the command center we can see how they use the Blue Ranger's power coin to access the powers, and Rita starts to complain to the Black Dragon. The monster responds that he underestimated the Green Ranger, but that won't happen again. Rita doesn't understand how they can't take away the Green Ranger's powers, and the Black Dragon tries to explain to her that the Dragon Coin accesses the grid in a different way. Rita begins to doubt the monster and tells him that she thinks that on the moon he was hesitating to destroy the Green Ranger. This makes the Black Dragon very angry, and he tells Rita that he is doing everything for her since she was not able to destroy the Rangers. Rita tries to tell him about the monster's motives for destroying the Rangers, but he yells at her that his motives are none of her business. He then tells her that he only wants to destroy the Green Ranger himself, and the next time he sees him he won't hesitate to give him the final blow. Meanwhile, we can see that Finster has created a new arm for Black Dragon since Jason had ripped off his other one. In the Dark Dimension, Billy tries to talk to Golder, but Golder doesn't want to talk to him as he thinks they are enemies. Golder is very convinced that Rita is still his Empress, and he is her sworn honor guard, so therefore, they are still enemies. Billy tries to play with his mind by telling him that maybe Rita doesn't think the same way, but Golder still hopes that she still thinks about him. In the Pocket Dimension, Zack approaches Tommy and apologizes for everything that had previously happened between them. He tells him that even though Rita chose him, it doesn't mean that there is something wrong with him. He also tells her that only a Ranger has been able to fight a giant monster alone, and this refers to the battle Tommy had with the Black Dragon on the moon. Tommy then replies that, if there was any way he could have traded places with the other Rangers, he could have done it. At that moment, Tommy has a great idea that can help the Rangers change everything. He quickly tries to talk to the other Rangers and tells them that he has a plan to activate everyone's powers. Basically, the plan is to use the Black Dragon's arm to produce the same energy that is going through the Blue Ranger's power coin to access the grid. This same energy could be used to go through the Green Ranger's power coin to help the other Rangers connect their powers to the grid again. Alpha begins to explain that this is possible, but Tommy would be helpless since he would not be able to use his powers. Despite this, Tommy wants to go through with the plan as he says that the other Rangers together can get the Zords back and that he can't do it all alone. Tommy uses the arm of the Black Dragon, and they all start morphing. The whole place is filled with green energy, and then something unexpected happens. All the Rangers have achieved the transformation, but now they are all green. There is very little time left for the leaders of the land to surrender and start being loyal to Rita. Meanwhile, the Zords are ready to start the attack, and the Black Dragon says that they are going to turn the cities into rubble. This monster's plan is to start in the Power Rangers city, and he is preparing Jason's Zord to start the attack. Despite this, the soldiers don't give up and want to keep fighting even though they know they have no chance of winning. Suddenly, they begin to see a green light that does not allow them to see well, and they hear a voice telling them not to worry. This voice is Jason, the Red Ranger, who is now green because of the transformation with the help of Tommy. In addition to his green color, Jason also has Tommy's shield, which gives him more energy and protection. The black dragon wastes no time and quickly attacks Jason, but he dodges the attack. The monster then tells him that no matter how he finds a way to transform again, he still has control of the Zords. Jason tells him that now that he can transform again, he has access to his Zord and all the others as well. All the Rangers respond by confirming that this is true since they were all inside their Zords. Zack has control of the Mastodon, Kimberly is still flying in her Zord, and Trini is ready for action again online. Despite this, the Rangers do not have control of the Blue Ranger's Zord, so the Black Dragon takes advantage of this and gives the order to the Zord to begin the attack. Before the Blue Zord starts the attack, he receives an attack from the Dragon Zord, and Tommy tells him that he is not going to let the monster destroy everything. Because of this, the Black Dragon changes size to start fighting the Dragon Zord and hits him hard in the face. The monster tells Tommy that he shouldn't have come back, and now that he is alone, nothing is going to save him. Tommy tells him that he has learned his lesson, and because of that he is using the Dragon Dagger. We can see that Tommy is not transformed, as he had to share his power with the other Rangers and is using his dagger to control the Dragon Zord. At that moment, Kimberly says that this time Tommy is not alone, and we can see that all the Zords are gathered to start the final battle. In the dark dimension, Billy and Golder see everything that is happening in the city, as somehow it is all being projected in front of them. They both start talking about what is happening, and Billy can tell that Golder is very angry. Because of this, he starts asking him several questions, and Golder confesses that he doesn't like Black Dragon. He also tells Billy that he is the one who should be there in that battle and not Black Dragon. Now, Billy asks him more questions to try to get information about the identity of the monster, and Golder starts talking about how the communication with this being went. He says that the Black Dragon is from the future, and it was a voice that came to Rita to make a deal. Golder is not sure if that is his true form, as he can change size at will, and he had never seen that. Then, Billy starts to analyze the monster's armor, and he can notice that on the neck of the monster's armor there is a gateway. Then, Billy asks a big question and tells Golder, how is it that they can see everything that is going on in the city while being prisoners? Golder tells him that he can control the dark dimension, because just because he is there doesn't mean he can't control it. He is only there because the Empress has punished him, and he respects that. Billy then asks him if he could leave or take someone else out, but Golder is a little surprised and angry at this question. Obviously, Billy uses his superior intelligence and begins to play with Golder's mind so that he can get him out of this dark dimension. Billy tells him that he is right, the Black Dragon is a robot that has an access entrance, and the best person to disable that robot is him. He then asks Golder to free him so that he can defeat the Black Dragon and Golder can return to Rita's side. Golder understands the reference and says that the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Billy manages to convince Golder, so he opens a portal so that the Blue Ranger can leave the dark dimension and tells him not to make him regret this decision. In the city there is a heavy battle, and Tommy hears Billy's voice, who appears next to him. Tommy is very confused, but Billy tells him that it's a long story and begins to tell him about the access entrance that the Black Dragon has in his neck. They then both make a plan to teleport near that entrance, but Tommy is a little hesitant. Despite this, they both teleport near the neck of the monster and begin to open the door to gain access to the inside of the monster, since it is a machine like the Zords. Inside the monster, they realize they were right, and Billy starts looking for a power source to stop the battle. The Black Dragon continues to attack the Zords heavily, and because of this, Jason asks Tommy for help so he can better control the Black Dragon. Tommy replies that he and Billy are inside the Black Dragon and the Rangers are very confused by Billy's return. Meanwhile, we can see that Billy has found the power source and Tommy manages to destroy it. This causes the Black Dragon to fall and both Rangers must hold on to something inside this monster as it is going to be a hard fall. As the monster falls, it also changes size and slowly becomes smaller. The Black Dragon begins to shrink, and the Rangers begin to panic as they don't know what will happen. Tommy tries to teleport out of this machine, but apparently something is blocking his signal. Jason asks them to resist, but Tommy replies that they won't be able to resist, so he wants him to tell his mom that he loves her. At that moment, we can see that a green energy explosion begins until that explosion becomes gigantic and destroys part of the monster. The very worried Rangers start to move some parts in order to get inside the machine to look for Billy and Tommy. They all start to see everything inside that machine and Trini finds a part that she recognizes. She says that this part is from the Dragonzord. In the command center we can see that Rita is talking to the being that controlled the Black Dragon and tells her that the Rangers have recovered that body. This being replies that he was never in that machine and that the Black Dragon was only a small piece of his plan. Rita begins to claim to him since he made big promises and this being tells her that he is going to keep those promises. Then, he also tells her that Tommy and Billy were transported to another place, and he knows where they are now. Now we can see that this being is one of the most powerful villains we have ever seen, Lord Draken, a being from a parallel universe, who says that Tommy and Billy are now in his universe. Tommy and Billy wake up and begin to see that they are in another place which is very destroyed. They are both very worried as they do not know what is happening, but suddenly they see something that leaves them very scared. In this city there are two giant statues of Rita and the Green Ranger. This is the beginning of the story of one of the most powerful beings of the multiverse, Lord Draken.